What up, y'all? Hello, 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 hello. It is a new week. Oh, days. I'm over it. Summer Walker level over it. Okay? Over it. We're starting spicy already. I'm a healing journey. Hello, it's Renee's Regrets. I regret everything. I hate everything. I'm just so irritated. Where we last left off in this saga, I'm just jumping right into it because, like, what else am I going to talk about? The weather. So, where we last left off in this fucking saga was this man, you know, um, being here for the weekend. Is that where we left off? Hold on. Let me pause. Maybe that's not where we left off. I think it is, though. I think it is. Hold on, hold on, hold on. I'm pausing the video. Right. I had a little snacky. Did a quick recap of the last one. So, yes, we left off when they were spending the weekend at my house. And I ended the last video with my reflections on, I mean, overall it was a good video, but still left me with a lot of, yeah, I still realized when I peeled back the layer after such a tense couple of weeks, like, they still have no idea what the hell they want. They're not clear. All they know is that they like me or they have a lot of emotions for me, but they don't know what they want from a commitment or anything like that, and they don't know how they're going to go about gaining clarity for themselves to get those answers. And so the last video I kind of left off with being like, I mean, it was a good conversation because I felt like the tension was kind of addressed and I got a little bit more insight into this person's headspace. But I still was left with the same questions and I was left with feeling in limbo. And how I said that, like, I'm not going to be strung along, right? Well, y'all, things in my life change so rapidly. I'm here to tell you, I no longer have a man. I never had a man. Let's really start there. But I no longer have any more prospects. The roster is back to zero. So, what has happened over the last week since that video? Since that video, I told myself last week I'm gonna take an observing role. We've now had a very clear conversation around, the type of questions I'm hoping that they can answer, and that's what I mean. That, like, the answers to those questions indicate to me a commitment to actually trying to live through, and test compatibility. Commitment for me at this moment did not mean let's be boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. Commitment to me was saying, can you do the emotional and internal work, knowing that that's going to build towards a platform where things feel more balanced between the two of us, and from that balance we can really get to understand if this is a compatible relationship, things of that sort. Essentially, I'm asking you to commit yourself to your own emotional work in the ways that it impacts me, so we can really do this healthily and well. And I just felt like I've said this so many times to this man since I met him when we started casual back in December, when we're like, okay, we're shifting a little bit. I always said to him, if you're going to step to me, step correctly. Because the questions I'm asking you to answer, I already have answers to. I know what I want from a commitment. I know how I'm able to show up. I know my capacities. I know my boundaries for commitments, and why those boundaries are there and what it means to me and how I live that through. I know what my triggers and traumas are, where they come from, why they present certain ways, and how it shows up in relationships. I'm now engaging in the work to also actively, proactively, and reactively mediate those triggers to ensure that I'm showing up in a healthy way and I'm not projecting things onto you. I'm open to receiving different perspectives and compromising and being flexible. I can be vulnerable, right? And I know how to be vulnerable and develop vulnerability and trust with someone. This is what that looks like to me. You don't have answers to any of those questions, right? So I'm thinking, let's see if he's going to start to engage in that work. I was beginning also letting him know this whole hot and cold, whenever you feel like messaging me, it lacks intentionality, makes me uncomfortable, triggers me, right? So all that conversation was already had. I said, let me sit back and see what he does with it. Y'all, what a disappointing week. Like, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're back to the way that he was communicating before. And I was beginning to think, like, am I being punished? Like, is this some weird punishment? I thought we had a great weekend. I thought we were very clear, some of the ongoing work we both have to do from that weekend that will help us get to a space of, potentially committing to one another and this journey, like, properly. Um, and it was, again, I felt like I was going out of my way to send the good mornings, check in through the day, and I'm sending memes. I'm getting one word answers again. It's like little to no, well, not no responses, but it's just like little responses that make me feel like I'm begging for like when I mean simple communication, like literally, how was your day? And I'm getting nothing. Like, what did you get up to? Those types of things. By Wednesday, I said it's actually been 3 whole weeks, like almost a month of this type of communication. I'm over it. I'm putting too much of myself into this. I end up leaving these interactions feeling shitty about myself, like I'm desperate, like I'm annoying you, like I'm being burdensome. And like you breadcrumb me, like you'll throw me little, like it'll be barely a good morning. I'll get maybe like one meme. I'm like, oh, maybe no, never mind, and you're doing that. Like you are very aware you're doing that because it came up in our conversation how you said, when you get in emotional headspaces, you will like barely give any communication, and how your exes would have an issue with that in the past. What did I say? It's not an issue for me as long as you are communicating to me that you actually need that space and that you're like in a moody way or in a moody space, and you're not going to be a great communicator today. That way I know it's not me. That way I know to fall back. For me, all I need you to tell me is I don't feel like chatting today. I don't feel like, and that's all I need. I was very clear with him about that. So 3 days of this with no, again, communication as to why you're even behaving, this way, and it's feeling breadcrumby and it's feeling weird. By the time Wednesday ended, I told myself, no more. Like, no more. I am not trying anymore. I am losing the ability to care. Like, I am really losing the ability to care. Thursday, I had a therapy session, and I bawled through the entire thing. And what really you know came up for me in that session, let me see if I can actually access my notes. My lord, child. I can't tell. Y'all don't even know. I'm so irritated by this entire thing. Okay. And I haven't even doing my meditation notes. I need to go back and do this at some point tonight, update it. So yes, we were going back to like this idea of misalignment. So I was telling them, my therapist, like, everything continues to be confusing. I feel like I'm working overtime. I feel like I'm very clearly like articulating what I need and want in terms of communication. And something just feels weird. And I kept saying, like, I'm starting to develop anxiety. Like throughout Wednesday, I was starting to form this pit in my stomach that felt like I was about to present something. When you're about to public speak and you're like, oh, I'm so nervous. Like, it was sitting on my chest, it was sitting on my stomach, and that was a feeling that followed me all up until yesterday. Like 4 or 5 days of just feeling constant anxiety. It was debilitating. And like, so she's saying, when you're in alignment, you're focusing on yourself and you're aligning yourself with your wants and needs. Everything else is going to fall away. And essentially, we were discussing, when I'm spending so much time trying to understand other people and they're not giving me pathways to understand them, they're not giving me communication to understand them, I'm undoing my own balance. I'm undoing my own calibration, and I'm misaligning myself. And so if I apply that energy to myself in order to calibrate myself, I can begin to discover why I even want to engage in this anymore. Because that was something she asked me. She's like, well, if you're feeling shitty about this and all this, why are you doing this? And I was like, I don't know. Like, other than I don't know, I can say, like, I just felt like we have a good thing going. I really want to test it out. I think that there's potential. But those are, again, the I thinks. It's again, it's not rooted in an actual knowing. This girl, my therapist, read me for filth. She said, I don't know is not an acceptable answer when it comes to yourself. It is a deeper portal into a knowledge of yourself. And you can begin to ask yourself, okay, if you don't know, you really need to interrogate. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? Why do I care? These are prompts to begin to, unpack. Um, And again, it's not about the decisions that you're making that lead you down these paths, but it's more about the energy from which you are making these decisions. And so if you're making your decisions from an energy that feels balanced and aligned, it's always going to be decisions that align you with your wants and needs. If you're making decisions that are coming from confused, loopy energy, it's just going to lead you to more confusion. And that's what I realized. I'm like, I'm making decisions to be patient with this man, to give him space and time, to over communicate, under communicate, to be blowing my back out, trying to do everything. Y'all, I'm giving this man the girlfriend experience fully. Like, we haven't even gotten into that. I am going over and beyond. I'm like giving him food to his house when he was sick, and, cooking a meal, like his favorite meals, and bringing him things that he needs. I'm doing all of these things from a place of confusion, and then I'm sitting here feeling like something is off. I'm sitting here feeling anxious. All of it is not aligning with my actual want to need, because I'm not getting that same energy back from you. That's my want to need. I'm not getting any clarity back from you. That's what I want to need. I'm not getting any indication of a progression towards commitment. That's what I want to need. I'm not getting any insight really into your head like space. In relation to yourself as well as in relation to me. That's what I want and need. And so by the time I left that therapy session, I really was like, yeah, I need to completely redirect my energy and I like back to myself, because I feel like I'm just completely losing myself in this scenario, in this situation. And this is something that I told him from day one I don't want to happen. I don't want to experience this, because I've experienced it so many times with the person that you met me around when I just left them, and you helped me heal, not help me heal, but you gave me you know, a sounding board to that experience, and all the other stories I've told you about my romantic life. You know that this confusion, this situationship, this friends with benefits nonsense, this purposeful push and pull and hot and cold has been almost my like perpetual romantic experience. You know this, and you promised that you would not recreate it for me. Yet here we are. Yet here we are. And so I need to take accountability for that, because I decided, again, making decisions from leaky energy, to still engage with this, knowing in December you weren't ready, knowing that you still had none of the answers to the questions that I had answers to. I still decided. And I really want to interrogate why I felt that that was a good decision. It was coming from a place of loneliness. It was coming from a place of fear that, like, maybe I'm being too harsh, and maybe I don't actually deserve what I feel I deserve in relationships, in terms of a way to approach me, a way to step to me, a way to court me, a way to build with me. And I'm realizing, but as of yesterday, actually I deserve all those things. And those are the decisions I need to make that energy from. I deserve it. I deserve it. I know what I want and need. And I'm making decisions about people who are in my life based off of that want and need. Can you provide it or not? Can you provide it? Can you provide it or not? However that like weekend song goes. Let me take a little bite and calm down. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. And so, we're flying into the weekend now. I said, hands off. I don't care anymore. Thursday, we barely spoke. I just let the air hang in silence. I was like, mm-hmm. Friday, I think he caught on. He was like, hold on a second. I haven't heard boo from this girl. So then he said, hey, well, good morning. I'm like, hey, that's because I'm not trying to be petty, right? But that's why I'm responding. But I'm not giving him the same energy and the same zeal and trying to engage him like I was before. So Friday was another dry conversation day. And I think by Saturday, he really realized, he's like, oh, like she's completely like shifted. Like her energy has shifted. Because I've been chasing you. I've been catering to you. I've been going above and beyond, trying to you. While you sit there and just feed me great. Fuck you. Honestly. Ooh, I need to get that out. I'm sorry. I don't actually feel like fuck you, because at the end of the day, we're still friends and we have a genuine friendship, but also low key feel like fuck you. So Saturday, I'm going to like a birthday party with my friends. I was under the impression, because again, the man lacks intentionality, doesn't plan a date. It's very much so like, I'll see you when I see ya. And it's always on his timeline and convenience. So because I hadn't heard anything, I assumed you're not trying to hang out this weekend. You're busy, right? You're probably in the studio, you're doing different things. So I'm going on about my weekend. I made my own fucking plans. I'm going to my friend's birthday. I was doing things throughout the day, blah, blah, blah. So I was keeping myself busy. By the time that I got to my friend's birthday, again, oh yeah, and I was like looking hot. I posted in my stories. I always post when I look cute in my stories. Has nothing to do with trying to thirst trap this man. But I guess he saw it and he was like, oh, she's out and about and she's like not talking to me. What? Tell me how I'm getting inundated with text messages on Sunday evening. Like, oh, are you busy? What are you doing? Like, da, 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 da. Oh, I miss you. Oh my God, I miss your voice. I miss your touch. I miss your da, 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 da. Where was all of this? All week. Now that you feel like, ooh, she's slipping through my fingers, you want to come with all of this fucking energy. Then he's like, are you busy? I'm like, I'm fully at a party. Go, like, silence. I guess he claims he fell asleep. And then I get another message from him at like 3 o'clock in the morning, being like, "I miss you. I wish you were here in my bed," and like da da da. And I was like, "I could be. I thought you were busy this evening," because he was telling me, "Oh, I'm having a slow evening, just chilling, watching movies." And so that's the intentionality for me. I want to be with a guy that, like, if you have a little bit of free time, and I know we all need our alone time, and like we do our own things. The man has so much alone time. I'm not gonna lie. And so this is where I feel kind of weird saying it, but you know what? I don't with this particular individual. That I'm like, these are the moments that we can be spending, building, things like that. I'm a person that if I want to learn how to commit to you, the free time that I have, I'm going to balance with my own priorities, but still make you a priority, right? If I know I have a free Saturday evening, I'm not doing boo, and I'm missing someone, come over. I would love to see you, and even proactively do that. If I knew Saturday was off, I would be inviting you from days ago, But if something got canceled, then I'd be like, I would love to spend this time with you. Why are you sitting here lamenting that you miss me when you can literally see me? I'm 15 minutes down the road from your house at this party location. If you wanted to see me, tell me. And usually, when he would do this in the past, I miss you, I want to hear your voice, da da da. I would bridge the gap. I'd be like, "Where are you free? Do you want me to come over?" And he'd be like, "I love that." This time I didn't. I said, "Oh, that sucks." And then he fell asleep. Stupid nigga. And then continues at like 2 o'clock in the morning when you've woken up being like, "Wait, I still miss you. Okay, I'm home now. Like, I've gone home." And again, you weren't even inviting me over anyway. You're still lamenting about the same fucking thing. Sunday comes. I said, really bun this. I woke up Sunday and I was like, you know what? I'm actually not going to bother with this at all. I decided to take a trip on Sunday. By a trip, I microdosed some shrooms. And I decided to make art. And I just wanted to, like, I think I wanted to utilize the shrooms to really just send, like, to really get to the, well, one, get emotions out of me, two, try and gain like, clarity. I haven't done shrooms since I was 18, y'all. I'm in my 30s. So I was like, oh, let's see how this goes. I guess, also just having a bit of a breakdown. I was like, I just need to, like, be in another world right now, and I just want to create. And something that my therapist was telling me, she's like, channel your emotions through your creation and see how much clarity it gives you. Like, if you want to paint, don't say, let me ignore my anxiety and paint to try and like heal that anxiety by ignoring it. No, bring the anxiety to the painting, bring the sadness to the painting, bring the frustration to the painting. And as you're engaging in that work, allow your mind to just flow, sit in that emotion, feel, see what realizations it comes to. And then when you do that with a little bit of shrooms on top of it, y'all, I was Shangri-La. I had so many realizations. I had so many realizations, but first let me show you my little painting I'm working on. So here she is. Oh, my webcam's so shitty. It's not picking up the colors at all. But we're gonna put a lady in here. This is really just the background, but it's kind of like a little floral piece. I don't know if you can see some purpley pinks and the blue and orange. Anyway, this is not what this is about. This is what I created on or I contributed to on my little trip. I started some of it the week before or 2 weeks before, and then I was continuing. My God, it was such a creative day. It was such a creative day. And I was so, because I was high as fuck, I was so out of my head about anything to do with that man, and it felt so good. And even whenever he would kind of float into my head, I was able to just observe my thoughts, like, from like almost this objective space, like as if it wasn't happening to me, but it's like a story my friend is telling me, and I'm like, girl, like, look at this and think about that piece of the conversation. And is that really what you want? Like, da da da. It was just so, it was a very beautiful experience. I think I'm going to do it again this weekend. I might be a shroom person now. Um, never thought that was going to be in my cards. But yeah, by the end of it, I had not only created this magnificent painting, but after a week of feeling like a pit in my stomach was not going away, y'all, when I thought like it was making me nauseous, I didn't want to eat, I don't want to do anything. My brain was just like all over the place. And it was just catastrophizing everything. Like, and I was trying to ground, I was trying to meditate, I was trying to do the things, my therapist was telling me it wasn't working. Like, and I realized after watching some spiritual videos and whatnot, I'm like, I feel this way. And this was also after the shrooms. I'm like, I'm feeling this because I need to speak my truth. My body now is reacting because I am stifling myself, I am silencing myself, I am like not giving myself, again, I'm not servicing my want and need. I need to articulate it, and I need to be okay with whatever the outcome is. And so I began to ask myself, why am I not strongly articulating my want and need? Why am I giving someone so much room for, I'm calling it compromise, but in reality I'm actually disrespecting my own wants and needs. I'm negating them, I'm ignoring them. Why am I giving that person more grace than I'm giving myself? Why am I giving that person more respect than I'm giving myself? Why am I attending to that person's boundaries and not my own? And of course the initial answer was, I don't know. And then I remembered Chanel said that's not an acceptable answer. And so I dug deeper. And, when we're thinking about like a tendency to have anxious attachment styles and things like that, really it was like this fear of being alone, like, and a fear of loneliness that drives me to over compromise, that drives me to over show up in relationships when I'm not actually receiving that same energy, that drives me to decenter my own wants and needs and over pedestal someone else's because I want to create a comfortable environment for them, because I feel that comfortable environment will hopefully map over into them inevitably treating me the way that I deserve, rather than that just being the baseline. Treat me the way I deserve, point blank. Point blank. And then I also really had to realize, not realize, but also from therapy, this idea of like, I was like, I think I'm codependent. And when we pulled back the layers, it wasn't actually codependent. I'm very independent in a lot of ways. Um, Emotionally, though, I'm codependent on people for validation that I need to be giving myself. Okay. So I'm not like financially codependent, physically codependent. Hell, if I want to do something and you don't want to go, I'm gonna do it, like romantic partner or not. I'm a very free thinker, but emotionally, when I get into a romantic space with someone, I become dependent on them for my source of validation. When usually that when I'm not engaging in anything romantic, I'm actually able to give myself that validation pretty easily, right? And move through most moments. And so we began to discuss um why and what a part of like my wounded child has been almost like neglected, that looks for validation in other places. So she was talking about, like a child, you're codependent on people for everything, for feeding you, for bathing you, for, giving you that gumption and motivation and telling you about yourself that you can do things. That's what children do. And so if you have been stuck in a space where you weren't given that, where you weren't given the tools to develop your own internal validation, or during the formative years where you develop that confidence, validation, that sense of self, and that security that you're going through, specifically with your parents, moments that where you're being invalidated, where you're being silenced, which I would say is a lot of my childhood, especially around your emotional wants and needs. That's my childhood. So I wouldn't say I was abused, but like my parents had little to no like room for my emotions, right? Everything for me was, you're being too sensitive, stop the crying, shut up, you're talking too much, like, all these different things. And so when it came to using my voice, I would look to others to like sense, like, is it okay? Like, am I allowed to feel this way? Am I allowed to want these things? Am I being too sensitive? Am I being too possessive? Am I being too this and that? Because I had so much messaging during my younger years that I was just asking for too much, that I was doing too much, that I too. When in reality, what I was asking and looking for were actually very basic things, and what I wanted to articulate were normally, and like emotions I was going through were normal for someone of my age. My external environment, aka my parents and some of the friends I was dabbling with at the time, they were not healed and couldn't handle it. Okay. So that led me now into other relationships in my life and my friendships and whatnot, where I feel like I constantly have to overly compromise or make someone else comfortable to maintain space in their life. And that's the theme of all of my relationships that I've now realized. I'm like, when I'm sitting there and I'm like, something feels off and it doesn't feel right, and I'm getting these feelings and I don't know why. It's because I'm not showing up with my authentic self. And my authentic self in relationship will be honoring my own boundaries. It would be honoring my wants and needs. It would be articulating them and communicating them. I'm showing up as this shell of a person and a version of someone that I think someone wants that will be palatable to them. And then I ask myself, why do I feel lonely or confused when I'm trying to actually build connections with people, right? So when it comes to this, particular person, I realized, yeah, this entire time from the year I met him to now, but especially since December, I've been silencing my own wants and needs and just saying like, oh, maybe he'll get there, give him patience and time, but then getting frustrated with myself as to why do I feel impatient? Like, why do I feel like there's no progression? And then I'm there thinking, oh, okay, I can't ask these things because then I said I'd give them patience and time, and it's going to be like peppering them, and I don't want to burn them for answers and all this other stuff. These are the things swirling through my head, creating unnecessary confusion because the person actually isn't clear to begin with. Okay. And I'm trying to make data out of nothing. Okay. And it's causing me to hyperfixate on other people's nonsense rather than actually just leading with my own decisions and actions that are aligned with my true wants and needs. And that's what she meant by, if you're moving with your true wants and needs, the rest will fall away that doesn't belong. And there you go. The decision is clear. And when you're aligning with your true wants and needs and you can articulate them, you can ask the person in front of you, can you meet this want and need? Is this your same want and need? And if the answer is she's like, if it isn't a resounding yes, Renee, it's a no. If they cannot give you a clear yes, it's a no. And your decision has been made for you. Since that day, I felt like I had to speak my truth. And that's why the anxiety was showing itself. So by the time I had my little Shangri-La moment with the shrooms, this leads me to yesterday because I'm recording this on a Tuesday. I think this is the fastest I've ever told a story. Hello. I'm like, how do we already get to the end? Oh, well, not at the end, but almost at the end. By the time I showed up yesterday, I was like, fuck this shit. Yeah, fuck it. And Sunday, it's interesting. I think because like I was so in my own world. Yeah, he was messaging me a lot too, but I was so high, I'm like, I can barely respond to these messages. Like, and that was driving him in a tizzy. That is the hot and cold. It's like, you only want me when I'm not giving you anything. And then when I'm giving you everything, you're like, eh, you know? Because you're too comfortable. It doesn't force you to do any of the work that you need to be doing to develop yourself, to be with anyone, regardless of me, or to even just be with yourself. Bar. Bar. Because you can't say it with yourself, nigga. Bar. So yeah, then it was turning into, as I'm like coming down from my high, it's like, oh my god, I miss you, like it became very emotional, very like, I've been thinking about you, and I'm like, bruh, my brain's pounding now, like, because I've been literally in La La Land all day, and I'm like, thanks for the comments, I will talk to you tomorrow. And took my ass to bed. So Monday comes, I wake up, and I'm just, again, I start to feel that anxiety again, and I'm like, no, I'm not living through this another fucking day. And so on my lunch, I told myself, I'm like, I need to, and there was just something in my head saying like, I wanted to drop into my anxiety. I said, let me meditate on this anxiety. And the same answer I was getting, you need to speak your truth. You need to speak your truth. Enough of the cycle. Ask them, like, tell the man what you want and need. And exactly like Chanel said, if he can't provide it, you need to step away, because at this point it's distracting from you, it's detracting from your light, it's detracting from your energy, it's detracting from the things that you need to focus on, it's fucking up your head, it's making you feel insecure and less confident. When you've been a bad bitch, when you met this nigga, you were confident, you were not, like, you were shining, and you've been shining since knowing this man until December, and then everything started getting weird. No, I'm amazing. Like, I'm actually amazing. Like, I'm actually amazing and I'm so free and I'm not like a jealous person. I'm not possessive. I don't overthink about things when they're easy and they're clear. I like to be fun. I like to be spontaneous. I like to be creative. I like to be happy. And you've been robbing me of that for the last month, like specifically. Like the last month has felt like such shit. And the few weeks before, leading up to, this past month, was feeling even weirder. Like things have just been weird since essentially the second week of January. And I'm over it. I'm so over it. And I keep asking, what's going on? Do you need space? Should we stop this? No, 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 no. Just give me time, 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 time. What are you doing with the time? I don't know. I wish I could tell you what I would be doing, but I'm doing something. No, Nix. No. So my lunch on Monday, I said, okay, let's start with trying to really articulate what is my truth. And I just started writing. Now look at all this. Page upon page upon page upon page of writing. Pages. And when I read it, I was like, this is exactly what I just need to say to him. This is exactly what I need to say. And so I told myself, I was like messaging my friends and I was messaging my sister, telling them, like, here are some of my new reflections. And as we know, this week is Valentine's Day. And I was like, see, even when we think about the man's lacking intentionality, things of that sort, and it's really becoming clear to me that, like, this is not the way I want to do this. Like, and I think that's okay. And if this is not the way I want to do it, I can remove myself from this situation. I was telling myself, should I give him a little bit more grace? Because he told me reserve Valentine's Day. We got tickets to this fucking play on the 16th, which is not Valentine's Day. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll come to the play. But he's not communicating. Is that replacing Valentine's Day on the 14th? Is this a separate plan? What, in fact, are we doing for Valentine's Day? Y'all, to this day, as I sit before you in this camera, I do not know. Okay. And so as I was talking to my friends, I was telling myself, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm prepared to say this letter on Wednesday or Thursday. Because if I don't hear anything from him about what we're doing on Friday for Valentine's Day and all of this, then I feel like I have, you know, meat to be like, listen, see, this is a case in point what I mean around the lack of intention and the lack of communication. Like, this is a waste of my time. You've literally told me to reserve the day. I have shit to do. Like, I genuinely have shit to do. This goes all the way back to the last weekend incident when you can't even tell me what day you're coming here, but you've told me block the entire weekend. And then you want to come like 2 days after the days you tell me to block the weekend. You are wasting my time, like, and energy. And so my friends were like, yeah, I guess that seems fair. And then by the time the end of Monday came, like the workday, I was again getting like this big surge of anxiety. And I've already discovered it's just telling me I need to say it. Like, I went to the gym. I'm like, let me try to calm my anxiety. I couldn't even do my workout. I just felt like I was like, I don't know what was going on, if it was the universe or what, or my body and my spirit had just had enough. And they're like, no, bitch, now. You're going to say it now. We're done. We're done of you holding your tongue. And we're not going to let you complete your day until you say shit. I was like, why can't I, like, seem to function? Like, this anxiety now is like, I feel sick. I thought I was going to throw up in the gym. Like, all of this stuff. The second I said this shit I had to say, anxiety gone. I read this letter word for word. And I'm gonna read it to y'all. um, it was I sent him a voice note. So as I was in the gym and I realized, okay, this isn't going away. It's telling me I need to pop my shit. I sent him a message. Actually, he like happened to pop up in my messages, and he was like, "How's the day treating you?" And I'm like, he's like, "It's been a long day for me. I'm about to go into like my last thing to do for the day." And I was like, "It's not been all that great." But I'm like, speaking of, I'm like, I want to talk to you and tell you what's on my heart and head, and I feel like I can do that if I send you a voice note and you kind of sit with it, and then you let me know if you want to have a conversation. I'm like, I'm down to hop on the phone, all that other stuff. And he's like, okay, I'll listen to your voice note when I get out of my last rehearsal. I was like, cool. So I sent this voice note. Let me tell you. I've been sitting and observing, our dynamic over the last 3 weeks, but this last week specifically. And I've really been telling myself, I know what I want and what I deserve, and I'm looking for someone to match that. I understand the need for grace and time and patience, especially when you're transitioning from one state of a relationship, like a casual, sexually casual friendship, to another, like something a bit more formal. And I understand that you're still wrapping your head around how you feel about me, how that informs how you want to show up in this relationship, how this informs what you even need from commitments in general, and figuring out whether or not you're even ready for commitment within the context of past traumas that you've experienced. And I know you've been on this journey irregardless of me since the last year, because you've told me you've been on a heart healing journey since the day I met you. And so I want to say that there's actually nothing wrong. This we're both on this same journey. We both have we both have patterns to unlearn, new behaviors to embody, and wounds to heal. There's nothing wrong with that at the core. And we aren't, and we, because we are unlearning generations of harm we've experienced and learning to lean into love from this new, type of healing. And so for me, while I know that I'm on a similar journey, I'm able to share that journey along someone. I know what I want from commitments. I know how my traumas and triggers show up. I know what I need from people and what I'm willing to contribute. And so the shift from, casual friendship and relationship to like a relationship feels more like a step for me. A step into something because I feel pretty sure about what I want to explore with you. I think for you, it feels more like a jump or a leap than a little step, because it's coming from an unsure and perhaps painful place. And I perceive it to be this way not only because you've told me this, but because it's also showing up in your behavior despite the things that you actually tell me. The hot and cold, the space, no space, the communicating one day and I'm getting nothing, the next day, both kind of triggering each other, the inability to articulate what's even going on in your head, consistency with communication and our plans are like not there, so on and so forth. And this shows me, an insecurity, a limbo, a lack of clarity, and therefore you don't know how to organize or decide what you want to do and how you want to show up with me. And it leads to a space where it feels unbalanced. And that's where I want to shift. I want to shift now into my own space and revisit my boundary of not emotionally and sexually investing myself when my want and need is not aligned, because mentally, you know, it creates a disappointing experience and a tiring thought process to navigate. But again, I really want to emphasize this is okay, because at the end of the day, we're friends. But being kind to myself and to you and both our hearts means decentering this romantic situation right now. So you can find clarity, and so I can actually be a good friend to you while you're on your journey to finding clarity. Right now, I don't feel like I can be patient with your need for space, because because one, I'm attached to an outcome of that space, like thinking it's going to help us generate something. But two, because all of that patience and space I'm giving you is actually impacting my experience. If I'm able to remove the impact of my experience, then I can give you all the grace that you need, because it's not altering my thought or my mentation or my emotion. It really is just connected, to you. And so, in the pursuit of your clarity, if that leads us back romantically, then it will feel like we're both just taking a step rather than one person taking a step and the other one taking an anxious leap. I feel like I deserve to be courted, prioritized. I want to actively build and heal alongside someone, as I've told you from the day that I met you. I feel like a cycle of chasing without following through has quickly become a recurring experience for us, and we've done this for over a year, and I'm tired and weary. Despite all the phenomenal moments we have had these past, few months, I don't want to be in a position where I feel like I'm begging or over communicating or under communicating, that I'm constantly confused, temporarily reassured with like broad and lofty phases, only just to, moments later realize actually I'm not assured at all and things don't feel clear. I also want to think about winter season, where we're both actually prone to mood swings and, wanes in motivation and depression. And perhaps taking the pressure off will be helpful from a mental health standpoint. So I say all this to say, I know you're aware of my needs and you're sorting through your own. You're also very aware, and I appreciate that you acknowledge my patience with you. You've held space for my traumas and my triggers, and allowed me to become more vulnerable with you. But I think knowing where I'm at and how I approach relationships is maybe just enough data for you to sit with right now, without us being romantic and creating an inconsistent moment that leaves us both frustrated and might impact our friendship. I'm thinking, for example, what we did in December was such a beautiful and phenomenal moment that we haven't even been able to maintain the momentum of. And that in itself is the inconsistency that I'm referring to. So right now, your decision is that you're not ready for a commitment and you want to focus on yourself. You said that to me in different ways, but very clearly the past weekend you were at my house. And I believe my waiting is actually enabling your lack of clarity, because it's allowing you to sit in a comfortable space where you're just, getting what you want and what you need and not being pushed to interrogate yourself. But that is just my assumption. So unfortunately, I'm not comfortable, and I think I need to shift for my own sanity and self respect, but perhaps also to challenge you a little. And not because I don't want to be flexible or patient with you. I'm just trying to follow my gut and and align myself with my own wants and needs, because those things are clear to me. I'm always open to revisit things when you feel a bit more clear, and have answers to some of the questions that I have been asking. So I sent that voice note. He listened to it and then asked for a phone call. And our phone call was like relatively short. He signed on, was in a super positive mood. I was like, okay, like, seems to be handling it well. And ultimately, I'll keep it short. Like, he was just like, you know what? Like, first of all, he was like, I went through all the emotions, like listening to that voice note. And like, I really just want to thank you for being so clear with me and like just so raw with your emotions. And he's like, I feel like I know that you've been saying these things in different ways. And essentially at the end of the day, he's like, I understand why you've now, reached this point. And he's like, and you are correct. Like, yeah, I do lack clarity, and like, I know I've told you these things, and like, I'm unsure and I'm still figuring it out. And he's like, but to hear how it's like impacting you and your emotions and energy, like, I totally agree. If you do feel like you need to take a step back from this, that makes sense to me, and I'm not going to like, I don't, essentially saying like he supports my decision in that regard. And he's like, and it made me have to sit and reflect and think like, yeah, while I know I'm sure about you and I want to be with you and all these different things, I want to try this with you. He's like, I also feel like, yeah, me trying to create that consistency and like think about dates. And because I was even like, I brought up Valentine's Day in the voice note. I was like, for example, Valentine's Day, I don't even know what the fuck's going on. Like, that's what I mean by intentionality. That's what I mean by organization and planning. Like, I'm ready to do those things. Like, I'm ready to pour in as much energy. And I'm not seeing it from you. Like, and I think these are bare minimum things. Like when you want to court someone and get to know them. And I'm doing that for you. I'm planning dates right now. I'm like bringing the dinners. I'm doing the things. I'm not a bitch that's just gonna sit here like waiting to be catered to, like some of these new girls. Like, buy me the Birkin and take me to dinner, and all you get is coochie from me. No, I'm an equal participant in this. Okay, we court each other. I feel like I'm out here in the field by myself. And he acknowledged that. He's like, yeah, I haven't been trying. Like, and he's like, it's because I feel like when I'm trying to like drag this romantic side out of me, that's just like not coming naturally. And he's like, maybe next year after I unpack some of my pain and my fear, I can get there, and kind of laughed it off. But he's like, yeah, you're completely correct. Like, I know I'm not showing up in the ways that I need to. And, and so he was just like, yeah, I essentially ultimately understand. Then he turns around and he was just like, but I still want to like sleep with you, and like I still love you, and like, oh my gosh, like I know our marriage isn't working right now, but like hopefully we can get it back. And then he's saying like he still wants to spend Valentine's Day together, and he still wants to go to the play because he wanted to like watch a movie and like blah blah blah. And I was like, what? Like, your plan was to watch a movie in your apartment? I mean, at the end of the day, like, I don't really care. I don't need like some big old fancy dinner, but I'm like, that's what you came up with? That's what you're offering me after this? After this whole conversation? That's crazy. That's crazy. I think you try to come a little bit more. But then I'm also like, why? Why? If you're saying you agree with me and you think that this is a good decision, because, and he did say, he's like, yeah, I think me shifting to a place where I'm not getting what I want and I am being uncomfortable. And he's like, and people have been, he's like, other people are asking me to shift and be clear about my wants and needs with them outside of a romantic sense, my professional and personal life. So he's like, you're completely correct. I know I need to like do something and get my shit together. And I'm like, okay, well, that's good to hear. Um, yeah, that's when he was like, but I still want to like Valentine's and blah, 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 blah. And then he invited me to be his plus one to like a wedding. And so I was very confused because like the conversation was so light that I'm like, wow, he's taking this kind of well. Okay, this is going good. Um, and I think I got like in a positive headspace that then when he's like Valentine's and all this other stuff, I'm like, I guess like we can do those things, but I'm like, but platonically, right? Like I said, like we're friends. And he's like, yeah, like kind of like brushed that off and dismissed it. And I'm like, okay. Like, so I originally kind of just agreed. And then I'm like, but why? Why do you want to do Valentine's and do all of this if we just had this conversation? I'm not understanding. And he's like, I'm trying to woo you. And I'm like, why are you trying to woo me when we just discussed not being romantic anymore. I'm very confused. And he was like, but that's what you do for Valentine's Day. He's like, I don't even really fuck with Valentine's Day like that. But like, he's like, it's important to you. I'm like, no, it's not important to me, actually. It's just the principle. Like, Valentine's Day is just a day where it really compels people who are not great at showing love to show it. And like, for me, I don't need to be doing anything crazy. I think it's just a fun day that reminds us, like, spend time with the people that you love. Like, and tell them that you love them. I mean, realistically, I feel like that should be an everyday practice, but I'm like, why not use the day to really, like, pronounce it? And I told him, I'm like, I don't need gifts, I don't need this, I don't need that. It's really just, honestly, for me, it's always been quality time. Like, and he's like, yeah, well, I see that. And again, I was so looking forward to, like, spending the weekend with you. I'm like, when were we spending the weekend together? Like, again, all of this was never communicated to me. So it's like, spending the weekend? When did you say that? And I'm like, because you only to this day now, I'm talking to you on the phone, you said apparently you wanted to watch a movie. At this point, I was holding up February the 14th with zero plans. All I had was the play. So like, you're talking about movie and spending the weekend. I thought you had a gig on the Saturday. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, bro. And he's like, yeah, but like, and again, a shell of a plan, not even a plan. Like, so either way, we kind of ended the conversation around there where I was like, okay, like, it seems, I think we have an understanding. Like, we're taking the pressure off. We're shifting into a friendship space. Thank you for holding space for that. And again, he was like joking and being like, oh, but I still want to, do this and do that. And like, but yeah, I'm gonna like go off and like also do my own thing, I guess, or like figure out what I need to figure out. And I'm like, this is what you were supposed to be doing these last 2 months, and you obviously haven't been doing it. So hopefully, without having to think too much about me, now that you have been from your responses, you can really get into the weeds of that, I guess. So, anyways, I left the conversation. I told my friends how it went, and then I went to bed. And my dreams were rocking me, y'all. Again, once again, I something was just not feeling right, even in my sleep. And I was having dreams of like him sleeping with the previous lover that I was telling y'all about. And I just like woke up in the morning. I was like, why? Why? I thought I felt okay about the conversation. The anxiety came again. And when I really interrogated it, I was like, actually, I'm insulted by that conversation. I'm insulted for a few reasons. Number one, you sitting here and telling me in your face, I'm overextending myself. I'm trying to meet you halfway. I'm under communicating. I'm constantly articulating my wants and needs, trying to figure you out. I'm confused and uncomfortable. You literally said in this conversation, you've been knowing all those things and you're just letting it happen, even though I'm begging you for answers. And in the same breath I'm begging for answers and communication, I'm also telling you, it sounds like you don't have the answers and communication. Do you want an out? Should we stop doing this? Do you want to take space? I've brought that specific conversation up to this man on 3 separate occasions since December. Every single time he's told me, no, give me time, I'm going to come to you with information. But then you're also actively telling me you're not doing that work, but you know that I'm in this headspace. You know that I'm trying so hard. You know that I'm putting in energy. That's selfish. And of course, you don't feel motivated to change because I'm giving you all the things you want. I'm giving you safety. I'm giving you security. I'm giving you my time. I'm giving you energy. I'm giving you assurance. I'm giving you validation. I'm giving you peace. I'm giving you time and me. I'm giving you all the different things. So if all of your needs and services and wants are being met, which is really just to not be challenged at all, that's your want and need, and it's to stay in your current state and take your damn time and not care about the impacts, why would you be compelled to do any of the internal work that essentially I'm asking you to do? So I was insulted by that I'm like, oh, you actually like were giggling, being like, yeah, you're right. And I've been knowing. Like, number two, it's even more insulting to be like, this entire time in the correct way and you weren't doing the work, even though I told you those are really the only two things I expect from you. I'm not expecting you to be my man tomorrow. I'm not looking for you to be my husband tomorrow. I'm quite literally just looking for you to know yourself and let me in. That's what I asked in December. That's what I've been talking about since last year when I met you. That's what I've been asking for this entire time. And you're actively like not doing it. In December, when I wasn't the one who said, let's really try this. You've been pressuring me. You've been chasing me for a year. You've been wearing me down. I've been the one being like, no, 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 because you're not approaching me correctly. And then finally, one day you caught me in a weird space. And I said, you know what, let me give this man a try because you've been so persistent with me. And you've been actually very supportive of me as a friend. Let me try. We had a whole long speech in December when I said, you need to be respectful of my heart. You know the previous shit that I've been through. This is how I need you to show up. And I don't feel like I'm asking for much. Again, like I said, I'm not asking you to roll up in a Bentley and do all this and court me this way. I'm literally just telling you, be honest, be transparent. That's how I need you to show up. Be honest, be transparent, and communicate with me, man. You've been doing the opposite, and you are now admitting to me from December you knew you never had the capacity to do that work. Why did you drag me and string me along, knowing that the entire symphony of my love life has been being strung along? That's you not even being a good friend to me. And then, on top of all of that, you have the audacity to then be like, and I still want to sleep with you. Ha ha ha. You should come over the 14th for a movie in your apartment. Some bullshit. The same thing we've been doing. You don't even take me on dates, nigga. All we do is sit in your apartment, watch movies. How is that any special, anything extra than what we already do? How is that really pronouncing that, like, we're trying and that we love each other and that, like, we're celebrating, the progression that we're on? So I can sit on your crusty couch like I always do while you fondle me. And again, like I said, I'm not looking for anything expensive or whatever, but the intention. Even if we stay in your house, let me give you an example. When he came to my house because I really wanted to show him, I appreciate you, I like you, I want to make this a different experience. All we do is hang out in your house and watch movies. He's a bit of a hermit because he's has such a social job. Like I find by the time he wants to hang out with me as his safe space, he's like, I just want to cuddle and like be lazy. So I'm not even getting a nice full dating experience, going on excursions and activities and like creating fun memories. I'm even saying, fine, we'll watch the movie after movie after movie, just smoke, sleep, eat, have sex. That's what we've been doing. Um, and so I'm like, if that's another weekend we're essentially gonna have, actually, when he came here, I was like, we can do so many things. Like, I want to curate these experiences for you. He said, I'm tired. I just want to stay in the house. That's essentially what we did. I was like, fine, I'll honor that. Um, and asking him that proactively, I was like, what kind of mood are you in when you come here? And then I can like create us a cool plan. And he's like, I don't want to do shit. So I was like, okay, I had so many fun ideas, but we'll stay in the house. I built this nigga an adult fort in the middle of my living room. I had bed sheets that went across my ceilings with like fairy lights and little dangly things, a charcuterie board, blanket laid out, fun things to move it. Like I souped up the place to really make it comfortable and romantic, but also to show like I'm putting in effort. Even you just sitting here in my home, I want it to feel like you're not in my home. I want you to feel like I'm taking you on an experience. That's intentionality. That's planning. That could be Valentine's Day for me. Just getting bed sheets you already own and some fairy lights from Walmart and a little snacks. I don't want for nothing. Like that's my thing. I don't want for nothing. And these niggas provide below nothing. So, anyways, by the time that I had these realizations, I was like, what you're offering me is crap. And why am I going to Valentine's Day and the play with you? When in reality, that just makes you comfortable again. Like, that just allows you to still have what you want out of me with even now really never not having to do any work because I've been like, you know what, absolve yourself of this situation. You're like, great, but still come over so we can fuck. And so I can have company because I'm lonely. And so we can go to that play because I already bought the tickets. Take your dick. Take your fucking cock. Like I'm so upset. And so when I messaged my sister about all of this and she's like, Renee, I'm insulted for you. This is so ridiculous. And she said exactly what I said. She's like the fact that even like again this example of, oh, I knew this whole time I couldn't do it and I feel like I'm pulling from an empty well, like, and all of these different things and like this feeling of almost like relief that he gave me when I was like, you know what, I'm removing myself from the situation. It was almost like, thank God. It's so insulting. But then in the next breath, no, wait, come back, wait, no, come to my house though, and like, and like, again, so we can still keep doing the same thing we've been doing for a whole calendar year, y'all. 365. I'm not joking. 365. Okay? And my sister's like, that's the push and pull. That's the hot and cold. Like, that's like, he's all like, you know, cold with the great, absolve myself, but then hot because he feels uncomfortable. He was like, oh shit, wait, I might actually lose something. Our dynamic might actually change. That's uncomfortable for him. And so he's like, no, 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 wait, come for the Valentine's. And I'm trying to woo you. Woo me from what? Woo me from what intention that you literally just told me you don't have? What you talking about? And I don't even think he realizes that like a lot of this is like smoke and mirrors. It's manipulation. I don't think he realizes it, and I don't think that's his intention. But it's so confusing to navigate in the moment because he's here, then he's there, and it's like all of his points counter one another. That by the time the conversation is done, I'm just kind of like, I don't know, and I have to sit there and take hours, sometimes days to process to be like, oh, actually, I'm being gifted shit that's just covered in gold. It's not even covered in gold. It's just, I don't even know. It's covered in aluminum foil. Like, and so my sister gave me everything that I needed. I went back to that man. I said, no, as of this morning, no, I don't want to do Valentine's Day. No, I don't want to do all these things with you. This is so stupid. And this is where we're left with now, literally hot off the press, as of right before I recorded this video. I said, hey, insert morning, hope you're doing okay. I'm thankful again for our conversation yesterday and have been continuing to process and reflect. They responded, good morning. I hope you managed to get some good sleep. I said, my sleep was fucked, but I'll try to go to bed early tonight. It'll be okay. I hope you slept too. And then I launched into my little paragraph. I said, I want to rescind my acceptance to hang out this weekend. I realize more space is actually needed for me to get over the romantic parts of things with you. For me to shift to just, okay, we're besties now, after all this emotional depth and, frankly, confusion and turmoil, it's not actually all that easy. Perhaps it is easy for you, it's not for me. It feels odd to have this conversation and emotions still feel so raw and then just in a few days participate in Valentine's Day with you. It seems counterintuitive to the purpose of the conversation. Please feel free to spend the days and go to the play with any of your previous lovers. That was me being a little petty. Because I know they're still wafting the winds for you. That's what led to all this nonsense. Oh, we didn't even mention over the last week how that Greek bitch, my god, she was like reposting everything that was in this nigga's story. That was making me even more anxious. And I'm like, are y'all talking more than like he's leading me to believe? Or is she just like obsessed with you? Like, and you haven't been very clear with her? Like, because you told me that's no longer a thing, but she's all up in your comments and reposting everything that you post. As though she didn't get the memo. And again, all of this, I was like, I don't have to deal with this shit. This isn't what I want. The person that I want and the person that I need will never make me feel like there's some woman trying to compete with me. I ain't competing with her. I don't know what she's doing. But anyways, where was I in this paragraph? Yes, please feel free to spend the days and go to the play with a previous lover or a current friend you think will fill your heart with joy. I think you deserve that. If you prefer not to go to the play, I will send you the $40 to reimburse you for my ticket, as I know it wasn't cheap. But yes, I think I need a slight amount of physical space to unpack my romanticism. And I know perhaps within the next month or two, I'll feel prepared to actually physically see you and maintain platonic vibes. And so then he came back, he's like, oh, chale, chale in Ghanaian means like, oh no, like, oh friend, oh love, like, I'm sad to hear, but I understand what you need. I was mostly interested in it in the opportunity to spend more time with you, but I know how you feel and I'm sorry. And I was like, there's no need to apologize at all. Thanks for understanding. And he's like, it's hurting, that's all. And then put this like smug smiley face. That sent me off because I'm like, you know what? Like, it's hurting. Apparently, I'm the only one bothered by this entire scenario. Yet you're harping for Valentine's Day. Who's hurting? Am I the one who's hurting? Are you the one who's hurting? Because you seem just dandy. You don't seem to care. Again, and so I came back and I was like, if that's your response, it's hurting. Mm, that's normal. You know, I understand. That's placating bullshit. Like, I just came back and said, yeah, I feel a bit disappointed, that this all feels one-sided. Even the message I just sent feels one-sided. Like, but that's for me to figure out. I set myself up to be hurt, and I'm going to take responsibility for it. Ashe, I'll chat with you soon. Because I saw him typing, and I was like, I actually don't want to engage in a back and forth dialogue. I will chat with you later. I've said what I had to say. Not coming to Valentine's, not going to the play. You don't seem to really care about that. And if you're saying I'm hurting, you're hurting, I don't know who's hurting from that statement. Either way, I'm gonna go and sort my shit out. And so then he just read it and left it. That was 10:30 in the morning. Tell me how 5 o'clock p.m. today, he just comes out of nowhere. I haven't felt this frozen in a long time. I said, what do you mean by frozen? He was like stuck on thoughts of you, my fears to just be vulnerable with you, yet wanting to hold you. Same shit, different toilet. He's been saying this every single time. I'm like, he's like, I just can't stop thinking about you, and I still have these fears, and yet I want to be with you. It's the same thing you've been saying this entire year. Like, literally, it's the same thing over and over again. You've been saying the entire year. It doesn't work anymore. Because before I used to be like, oh, it used to soften my heart. Okay, let me try and give him compassion. I don't care. 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 So I came back and I said, I hear you. It took me time to be vulnerable with you because of my own fears. So I get the internal barriers and questioning that may stop you. But I don't want you to be frozen. It's okay to thaw. You have so much going on for you. So many amazing things. And I don't think he realized I actually saw this, and then he edited it. He was like, yeah, like seeing you Friday after 5 p.m. And then edited it to be like, I dot 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 really was looking forward to seeing you on Friday. Again, you're trying to restate what you want, which is still stuck on thoughts of me, still afraid, still wanting to have your physical needs met, still wanting to slurp up my energy and time because it feels good. You've told me my energy feels like butter. You've told me it feels like milk and honey. You feel so safe with me. You love to be the little spoon. You love giggling with me. You love the vibes I create. Leech, 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 leech. I'm so upset. I almost want to throw my computer off the balcony. It's leechy behavior. And you're supposed to be my friend, bro. Nigga. And all I said was, I know. I was too. Emphasis on was. I was looking forward to the date, and now I'm not. Because it doesn't exist. And he didn't respond because I'm not giving him anything. I don't care you want to see me Friday. You've already said that like 100 times, and I'm telling you, I am not seeing you Friday or Sunday or honestly anytime for the foreseeable future. And then I blocked him from seeing my story because I'm like, I almost don't want him to have access to me. And then I realized why. There's a part of me that felt, oh, like if he sees me like living my life, maybe that will propel him not to care because he's like, oh well, see, look, she's fine, and I'm thinking if I create this almost experience for him where he doesn't have access to me and he's wondering where I am and what I'm doing, he'll actually be propelled to care. But then I realized, no, you shouldn't be propelled to care because you don't have access to me. You don't have control over the situation. You should be propelled to care because it's important to you, because it's a priority, because you actually like me, like things like that. And so I unblocked him from my story and I said, you know what, you can watch me live my life. You can watch me live my life, and if you're just like, if that demotivates you from actually doing the work that you need to do to return to me, because that was one of the things he said in the phone call. He's like, I'm going to do the work. This is the kick in the ass I need, and I know I'm not doing the work just to do it. I know I'm doing the work because I want to come back to you, and that's going to be like undeniable. And he was going on and on and on about how like essentially we'll get back together, and he feels 100% sure about that. And I was like, So in my mind, I think that's what made me feel good to initially say yes to the Valentine's. And I was like, actually, no, we're just going right back to what we were doing with him being given even more allowance and grace to do absolutely nothing and like really whatever he wants. No, 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 no. If you want to go fuck everybody, go fuck them. If you want to do that, go do that. I am not going to be a part of it. I'm not bearing witness to it. Like, that's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what he wants. He wants me to bear witness while he just goes and frolics. Like, that's not my tea, hun. Fuck. Um, yeah. So it's gonna be a while before I physically see you. And then I realized, yeah, the pettiness of wanting to block him and not have access to me was rooted in like a worry that maybe him seeing me live my life and that, I'm doing the things like again, and because he'll have access to me to see me, it's not gonna motivate him to like it's not going to motivate him to miss me. It's not going to motivate him to compel to action. It's going to just rescind him back to his own behavior because he's like, oh, she's fine, I'm fine, everyone's fine. And I realized, you know what? If that's the case, then that's the case. What is meant for me will be for me. Enough of the chasing, enough of the begging, enough of the games to get somebody to care, enough. And when I was thinking back to my previous situation, I did block him and like, all these things, and he still went and got another bitch pregnant. That was the situation that this man was like helping me through. So I'm like, even if I remove access, they'll still find a way to forget you and do what they want to do. And if you give it to them. Either way, access, no access, the nigga gonna do what the nigga gonna do. Okay, so let him do it. If it leads him back to you, then that's what was meant to happen. If it leads him off into another pasture, then go frolic in that pasture, bro. I'm doing what I need to do for my fucking self. And I'm realizing that you are impacting my healing journey in a negative way. If you ain't adding, you are subtracting. Okay? And now I need to begin to get over the worry that, like, he's not going to come back. I need to get over the worry that he's gonna go and fuck everybody, like as escapism. That behavior isn't mine to worry about, and I know it's natural to feel that way because I've been emotionally involved and all this other stuff. I'm now at the stage of trying to tell myself, you don't need to stalk that Greek girl anymore. She doesn't matter. If they happen to go on a date and like she posted or something like that, and you see it, who cares? The man is single. He's been single. Sorry, I farted. If you heard it. Um, the man's single, she's single, you're single, and you two are not doing anything, even though you want to. I mean, right now he's not giving you any motivation to do it anyway. So at this point, do you even want to do it with him? Obviously not. And that while it's shitty because it just affirms that like this man was never planning on doing the work and he's not serious, it really shows to me if he were to engage in that behavior, if I were to see indications that he's like fucking around and doing whatever, it just shows to me this is not my person. This person is not aligned for me. And yeah, that could be a shitty realization or a consequence of this decision, a consequence. But I do believe deeply in the saying rejection is protection, as is redirection is protection. And so if that's the case, that's the case. And that's the update. So I'm gonna bring this to my therapist, and I really want to interrogate this feeling, yeah, of like wanting to block him, not have access, have access. What if he goes off with someone else? Blah blah blah. Because that's a worry. I already know what she's gonna say to me, but like I want to interrogate where that's coming from for me. And I know it has its roots in like a fear of abandonment, but I want to peel back those layers a little bit more. And I want to tell y'all, in the upcoming videos, how I plan to continue healing my heart and healing my anxious approach to relationships, and how I plan to do that work independently, right? And how I was telling myself, oh, I always do this when something disappointing happens romantically where I'm like, fuck dating, let me just forget everything and focus on my work. And while, yes, I do need to refocus on my work because this entire month has been derailed based off of this experience, I told myself, you know what? No, I'm not going to rob myself of happiness. If somebody wants to like take me out or asks me out or explore, if I meet someone cute or whatever, I'm still going to try and lead with my heart open. This person, as well as all of my previous experiences, can no longer dictate my future. I want what I want, and I'm tired of these people having control, emotional and mental control over my life. And so, yeah, while I'm trying to heal and close this chapter, it wasn't a big chapter. Hell, it was a couple of pages because this has really only been going on from December, that I feel like I can actually pivot. And I don't think I'm going to go out of my way to like find people to date or whatever. But if that happens to land in my lap, I'm not going to reject the experience. Because after the last guy that I was, seeing in and around the time I met this one, and it was such a terrible experience, like, I closed my heart for months. Like, I was rejecting everything coming to me up until December. And then this bullshit's happening. So, and I realized from that closed heart space, I was still accepting that crappy offer from a closed heart space. And so I'm attracting actually the things that I don't want, because if the heart's closed, it's not vibrating on a good level. It's low vibrational energy. I'm attracting low vibrational dick and pussy, because I'm bi. So I'm trying to elevate my vibrations, and I hope that that does begin to attract people that are also of elevated vibrations. And if they happen to fly into my plane, then I'm willing to explore it while applying the new things I'm learning. How do I feel right now? Disappointed, naturally, a little sad, frustrated. But ultimately, I did not feel a lick of anxiety today, y'all. It's gone. I feel already a little bit more centered. I feel strong and finally saying what I want. And, while I lost something from that, I have a feeling this man's going to be chasing me for a little bit. He might take his time with it, but he's persistent. I feel very affirmed in what I know I deserve, and I haven't felt that way in a very long time. And so I'm going to count this as progress. Okay? All right. I gotta take a shit. I'm not gonna lie. And I want to go shower. I've been sitting in my sweaty gym clothes, but I had to get this off my chest. So, ashe y'all. Renee's regrets.